Whether you're dreaming of becoming a lead teacher, stepping into your first director role, or leading a thriving childcare program of your own, you don't have to figure it out alone. Welcome to the Childcare Director's Chair, where leadership coach, speaker, co-author, and multi-center owner Erica Saccoccio shares the wisdom she's gained from decades of leading successful early childhood programs and developing future leaders. Each episode is designed to help you use your voice, lead with confidence, build a positive workplace culture, and become the kind of leader your team is excited to follow. Expect real talk, big laughs, bold leadership truth, practical strategies, and the encouragement to believe in yourself every step of the way. Because when Erica teaches leadership, she's teaching what she's lived. The Child Care Director's Chair is proudly sponsored by Watch Me Grow, supporting childcare leaders with innovative technology that helps build stronger programs and stronger family connections. Together, they believe leadership isn't a title, it's an action. Pull up your chair, future leader. Here's Erica Saccoccio.
We are talking about what makes early childhood education so important and what it really takes to lead a childcare program and what happens when you step into ownership and leadership at a young age. Because becoming an owner does not mean you suddenly have all the answers. Sometimes it means you're learning leadership, business, staffing, families, finances, and yourself all at the same time. So we're going to talk about the challenges, the successes, the lessons we wish we knew before we started, and some of the biggest changes that we have seen in the early childhood industry over the last couple of years. And then I want to take this conversation beyond the four walls of your center and just talk just for a minute about YouTube content because honestly, one, I believe that you should use your voice, and two, like we have Danni Christine on the line. So we are going to ask the questions about YouTube. I am a little fangirl crushing because I have been watching her on YouTube forever. And for those of you who don't know, I started on YouTube before I had a podcast. So welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you for having me, Erica. I'm so excited to be here.
So you started with a few of your colleagues started magnified childcare podcast. What inspired you to start a podcast?
So I actually had a podcast myself. I started one a few years ago that I posted the episodes on YouTube. I think we started in the end of 2019, 2020
Yep.
at Care Sights and Sounds. Which was the audience was targeted. It was targeted towards childcare providers and aspiring owners. But in the past, 18 months or so, we've just been doing a lot of intentional work around trying to show up better online, have our brand awareness spread for our childcare centers.
Mm-hmm.
So there's been a lot of steps that we've taken towards increasing our visibility online, like search engine optimization and things like that. So I figured that it would be good to take what I know about podcasting and make a podcast that's geared towards parents and families. We can still have some episodes that are for teachers, providers, childcare owners, but a lot of our focus is on the parents and families. So that does help with when we post those episodes to YouTube. It helps with search engine optimization and marketing in that way.
So you're so smart too, because, we talk about how do we get enrollment and how do we stay relevant? And so you just innately have it, you just do. So you're like, well, this is a great way to get my voice out there. Also, as you said, market your brand because the way that we marketed 20 years ago with word of mouth and flyers is not how we're marketing today. I mean, I can remember when I first started, there was no such thing as Facebook. It was just the community newspaper and, the PTO meetings, you'd be at all of those, which we still go to those, but
yeah, of course.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. For some folks who might be a little bit more shy and not quite as outgoing, how did you go from thinking, well, maybe I should share this to actually turning on the camera, which you did a long time ago? And how do you figure out what people want to hear?
So do you mean for Magnified Childcare, the podcast for parents? How do I know?
Just how somebody who's listening who hasn't done anything, Danni, how did you know, let me just turn on the camera. Let me just do this for the shy folks in the back. There's none
Yeah.
of those shy
Well,
folks in the front, but in the back.
I know, I definitely understand it being difficult, like, if you are more reserved, and let's say it's someone that has, like, a home daycare or a small center, and there it's really somewhat of a one-man show, it can be hard to put yourself out there. I would say that if you have any help at all, like, even if it is just you and another person, maybe you try to find someone that is a little more outgoing, a little more, it comes natural that to them um, to be on camera and just turn on. Um, I knew that it was important because if we're in an area where, the community doesn't know who we are or what we do, we have to figure out a way to reach them, right? So like you said earlier, of course you can go to like the PTA meetings or show up in the newspaper or whatever, but that's just not the way that the majority of young people having children are consuming
Mm.
information right now. They're finding it when they're scrolling on their phones, or if they know they want to search for something, like if I want a good restaurant in a new city, or a doctor's office for whatever reason, I'm going to pull out my phone and search Google Maps, or, just different search engines. So you have to be present where people are looking for things. And social media is one of those places. So if you can't do it yourself, then that may be something that you hire somebody to do for you. Or if you already have a team of people, no matter how big or small, ask your most outgoing person, would you be willing to do this? Or, if you can spare an extra couple dollars or just a little bonus or thank you gift here and there. That's the way that I'm not, as believe it or not, I'm not the most outgoing person either. I don't really enjoy being on camera a lot of the times. So I'm so, so, so grateful for our team that we have now that is energetic and enthusiastic about showing up and doing all the fun trends on social media. It
Yeah.
really helps have a team.
I think too, like sometimes find the platform that you're most comfortable with. And we just had this conversation, me and my social media lady, she's younger than me. But we just talked about TikTok. I'm like, I mean, I'm fun, but like, am I gonna be dancing around at 55 and make I'm probably not. I'm like, I don't know that that's my platform, but there's certain platforms I'm more comfortable. So even if it's just starting out on a platform that you feel most comfortable with, and you kind of keep going from there. And I do love your idea about having your team, because I have lots of fun young folks that work for me that also love to be silly and don't mind doing it on camera. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and I agree with that too. I am way more comfortable in long form videos, and I am
Hmm.
one of the co-hosts of Magnify Childcare, our podcast. But when it comes to like most of the funny videos that we have, my brand, my childcare centers are called Academic Explorers. So if anybody's interested in seeing, we do a lot of like, the trends and the funny stuff, but I'm not really into those. Not something that I feel comfortable doing, but I have a
Yeah.
lot of teachers who are excited about it. So
Yeah.
they do the fun stuff, and a lot of it goes viral, which is
Yeah.
fun.
So for the folks who don't know you,
Mhm.
tell a little bit about your story, like from where you started and how you've gotten to where you are now.
Sure. So I actually started I guess before I became an entrepreneur, I started as a assistant teacher in a licensed childcare center in my hometown. That was in 2010. It was my senior year of high school. So I started as an assistant teacher there. I stayed there for about 2 or 3 more years as I was in college. I started working full time as a teacher there while going for my bachelor's degree. And before my senior year in college, I opened a home daycare. I left that job to open a group family daycare in Queens, New York. So I started as a family daycare provider first, um, in terms of entrepreneurship, and then a couple years into that, I had a family friend who owned a lot of businesses and properties, and he was looking to add a childcare business to his portfolio. He offered to partner with me to start a center. That was back in 2017. So I did that with him, and we opened our first location. About a year or two later, my dad, we were blessed enough where my dad was able to buy him out, and now I'm in business with my dad. And since then, we've expanded to three other locations. So we have 4 childcare centers now, and we're approaching 10 years in March. So with the centers, so that's an exciting milestone for us.
So I love that you're in business with your dad.
Hmm.
We're going to say this. What is it like working with family, pros and cons? Because sometimes when you go to conferences, especially business ones, they kind of gear you away from like, oh, maybe don't go into business with friends and family. I own my centers with my sister. We've been
Hmm.
together for 27 years,
Hmm.
and it works out great. But
Yeah.
what's your advice, pros and cons?
To be honest with you, I hear that all the time too, right? The I will say myth. In as many cases, it's like a myth of you can't work with family and and maybe that is true for a lot of people, but I don't really have cons. And I think it's just a matter of personalities, right? Like my dad, he's a retired NYPD officer. He was a detective for a while. He retired a while ago. But he we don't really get into each other's lanes. Like there's a lot of all the administrative stuff, licensing stuff, marketing stuff, all the boring computer stuff or HR related stuff with hiring staff and, making decisions about making hard like larger scale decisions about the business. That does fall on me. What my dad really does at this point is he is physically at the centers way more than I am. He goes and he makes sure that everybody is okay. He'll ask if they need something. Today we need one of our ACs repaired, so he was there with the HVAC guy. We really don't have like any sort of power struggle because there's not a conflict of I don't know really how to describe it. I have no cons. I'm grateful that my dad is able to be present in a way that I can't be because of all of the administrative stuff that it takes to operate 4 centers with 60 staff,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah. I think you said it perfectly, actually. I think here are the 2 nuggets that I 100% agree with is everybody knows their role and responsibility, and so when
Yes.
that is happened and there's clarity, it makes it a lot easier for everyone to know who's responsible for what and who to go to for what.
Right.
I think that, and then also, what a privilege, like, this is the way that I look at it too, is what a privilege to be able to spend that time with your family, right? Because we spend so as childcare owners, like, let's tell the truth, right? Like, we spend a lot of hours in these places, either in or working on.
Yes.
So it's my sister, my niece, my nephew. At one point, my husband worked there, but he's now since retired. Um, yeah, like our family, like it's owned and operated by family. And as long as everybody knows their lane and stays in their lane, it's
Yeah.
usually pretty harmonious.
Right.
Let me ask you, because one of the things that your podcast really is focused on is the importance of ECE. So, for someone outside of our profession who might still think that childcare is just simply a place that children go when their parents are at work, what do you wish that they would understand about how important early childhood education really is?
That's a really great question. I think that a lot of people, like you said, just think of it as, this is a need. I just need my child to be healthy and safe and come home to me at the end of the day, which is, it should be everybody's number one priority, like, of course. But it can really be, it sets the foundation for the way that I think that most children view education before they step into an elementary school setting, right? If we can help to establish routines, like even outside of the curriculum related stuff, outside of the ABCs, one, two, threes, the what's it called, developmental milestones and things like that. If
Hmm.
we just create a routine of like, okay, you're going to school today. You love your friends, you love your teachers, you
Yeah.
have fun here, you're safe, and you're gonna have a good time. And then come home, you're gonna eat your lunch and your breakfast and your snack. And I think that's a really important consistent schedule or consistent routine that a lot of kids miss out on when they go to informal places or just have scattered, if parents don't choose to use an early childhood setting that focuses on routine, um, they miss out on that. And then when they get into kindergarten or first grade, their first year in elementary setting, they're, not fitting in as easily as they could had they had that foundation, at least like 1 or 2 years before. So I do think that it is really important.
Yeah. So I have lots of folks that listen to our podcast that are maybe lead teachers who might be looking at maybe opening their own center. How old were you when you first opened your first childcare family program?
I was 20. I had just turned 20.
That's what I thought. Okay. So did you feel ready to step into ownership, or were there moments that you were like just figuring out things how they went?
No, Erica, I don't think I was ready. I don't think I was feeling anything, if I'm being honest. I look back at that. I think about those years now, quite often actually. Every time there's like an expansion opportunity that arises, the way that I feel now about taking on more,
Hmm.
I it makes me reflect on when I first started because I had no fear. I had no fear. I wasn't even thinking the worst of anything. It was just like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do, you know? And all the things that have happened over the years, like the good, but also for sure the bad, have kind of now give me pause of like, do I really want to do this again? Like, so thinking about back then I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I kind of just jumped head first in, and
Hmm.
I will say within about like less than a year I was already kind of like, what did I do? And I started to look for options of ways, as business owners, we often have like really great seasons, horrible seasons. You think about like, okay, well, I'm just going to close, I'm going to sell, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Like there were so many.
No, no way, Danny. No one ever thinks that.
Exactly. But yeah, I was very oblivious at first. I had reality checks really quickly into it, and I'm glad that I was so naive at first because if I had the
Mm,
doubts and worries and the little nervous or fearfulness that I have now whenever there's a new opportunity, I probably never would have started, to be honest.
yeah.
So,
You
yeah.
brought up so many great points there, but so the first thing is I think that the longer you're in the industry, there's a lot to see and a lot to learn, which is my daughter works for me. She is 27, she'll be 28 in October. But I made her do 2 to 3 years in every single age group before she got
Okay.
promoted.
Yeah.
So yeah, so now she's a director of one of my schools, and I let people know right up front. I'm like, do not think that she is the boss because she's my daughter. She's the boss because she's the best person for the position at our school. And she
Right.
knows everything now. But, and I felt like that was just something that was so important as a mom. I'm like, girl, I do not want you to think that, okay, because mom owns the place that you're just gonna like breeze in. And she learned all the things. And now honestly, she could confidently leave and open up her own school. But that was one of the things I wanted to make sure she knew the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I do think there is a level of risk for folks that are listening out there. There is a level of risk that you just have to be willing to take.
Yes.
And don't listen to everybody else. Listen to yourself and your
Exactly.
gut, right?
Yes.
Because I can remember we opened our school in 2008, which was a recession. And
Oh,
three of our aunts and uncles, they were like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And we said, we're going to do it. And we did
yeah.
it.
And now
And
look.
yeah, and so we scaled up to 6 childcare centers in a dance studio at
Well,
one point. But I do love one of the things that you said that not a lot of top players in this industry talk about. It is okay to not want to keep multiplying. And it
Mhm.
is okay, right, to say, you know what, this is what feels comfortable. And at this level, it also allows me to do other things, right? Then you're not just running childcare center. You have other forms of revenue that come in. You have other passions that you, even though the ECE supported, that you do, right? That you're out there, whether it's YouTube, whether it's your podcast, whether it is speaking, whatever it is, you're
Mhm.
afforded the opportunity to do that. And you know, every time you take on a center, it's just a little a little less of that free time
Right.
to do that. So
Yeah.
thank you for like sharing that part.
Of course. And I will just clarify, I don't really have, like, yes, I do the consulting. People can book me for consultations. I honestly don't really advertise that much because it's not my favorite focus right now.
Mm-hmm.
So right now I do predominantly just like operate my centers. We're really in as I said, we're approaching 10 years. So there's a lot that I'm just trying to do better. I just want like the next level up of our,
Mm-hmm.
not only our branding, but the experience we deliver our children and families. And there's the last year to year and a half has been studying my business and operations and the
Mm-hmm.
systems. So I am pretty much just full-time working on the business remotely
Mm-hmm.
and upgrading our systems, revising our policies and all of that. So I don't want to mislead anybody to think that like, oh, I have all these different streams. My different streams are the centers. Like we have
Mm-hmm.
multiple centers and that's good enough for me. I'm
Mm-hmm.
comfortable. But I have the option, as you said, I'm afforded
Mm-hmm.
the ability to seek out other endeavors. I just get a little obsessed about things that I'm passionate of.
Yeah.
Right now, my passion is like, how can we be the best early
Love
childhood
it.
program in on Long Island,
Yeah.
um, before we continue our journey with expansion. Um,
Right.
so
Yeah,
that
so but you are on point with that because when you strengthen your business, you
yeah,
make more revenue. Let's tell the truth,
exactly.
right? You
Yes.
can charge more,
Yes,
you
yes.
keep your customers because we
Mhm.
all know one or two empty spots is thousands of dollars, right? So again, your focus still is bringing more
Of
revenue
course,
and
yeah.
consistency, and let's tell the truth. I mean, it is getting real competitive out in
Mhm.
this industry. Now we're competing with public schools. Again, depends on what state you're in, but we're competing with, multiple places that we weren't competing with
Of
15 years
course.
ago,
Yeah,
right? So good for you for keeping your eye on and say, I'm going to make my business be as strong and
yeah.
sustainable. And that's another thing that when these people are saying, oh, grow and expand, what they're forgetting to tell you is that you're going to be sucking the resources out of some of your other
Right.
areas, like your best teachers. I'm not even just talking about money. Your best teachers, your attention, your ability to make sure that these systems work
Yeah.
flawlessly at all of those locations. It only takes one center to
Of
not work right to suck out your whole business.
yes, that's so
Yeah,
true.
yes.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
as new things are coming down, I don't know much about how things are shaping out in Rhode Island, but in New
Mhm.
York, there's a whole bunch of talk right now of universal childcare, not just
Mhm.
like universal pre-K, which has been a thing for quite
Mhm.
some time now, but universal childcare like down to infants.
Yep.
There's pilot programs that are starting in September in upstate New York, and I know that should that go well, that a couple years down the line, it's probably going to expand to the rest of the state the same way that universal pre-K did. And should that happen, we want to be ready for it. That's also
Mhm.
why like my focus is on like, okay, what can we do to get the quality of our services
Love
and
it.
our education, the curriculum that we're implementing, how we're assessing the children and proving that our methods work.
Mhm.
All of that is takes so much effort and energy that I'm so like I'm grateful that I have the time to be able to focus on that and now so that when it does come down a couple years from now, we'll already be ready, you know?
Yes. Yes.
So that's
Yeah.
what I'm looking
That's
forward
a great strategy. I hope you guys are listening for those of you who own a center, and I couldn't agree more with that. In our state, um, we had quality rating systems, which most states have now, but we were
Yeah.
one of the first centers in our state to hop on board. Before it was even
Wow.
tied to money. We were on board. And
Yeah.
so when it became somewhat mandatory, if you took CCAP kids, we were already at a 4-star. We were ready to go. And our
Nice. See, that's
reimbursement
what I'm
rate was
trying
at
to do.
at a higher level,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, my after school programs were the first 5-star programs in the state of Rhode Island. So
Nice.
yeah, but again, you have to have that foresight to say, this is what's coming down the line. How do I make my business stronger? Because other people are panicking, going, oh my God, let me sell. This is the end of our industry.
Yeah.
Not if there's a mixed delivery model. It's actually probably quite the opposite.
Yeah.
If the state is figuring out how do we provide childcare where we're paying centers that are high quality, but the secret is
Exactly.
high quality, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
In New York, it's not mandatory yet. We do have the quality rating system, but it's not mandatory. A lot of programs don't do it, and it's not tied to increased funding
sure.
from CCAP, but that's the plan within
Yeah.
the next couple of years.
I
So
would
you're
say
right on.
that's, yeah, I'm going to say
Yeah.
that's going to be the plan for every state within the next 10 years. So
Yes.
unfortunately, or fortunately, who knows? I don't know. I guess it depends on how you look at it, right?
Exactly.
Depends on the lens that you're looking
Yeah,
at, right?
I think that it could be a good thing. Like
It
you
could.
do have to kind of change your mindset. A lot of people are saying that, you know, we work for ourselves, we don't work for the government. I don't want more regulations. I don't want this, I don't want that. And sure, you don't have to have it, but
Mhm.
if you don't get on board, a lot of families, most families will probably go for the option that is free. Not all, because of
Mhm.
course there are some people that do value certain things and
Mhm.
certain curriculums or certain this or certain that. So you will get a few that will pay, but the large and a lot of the families that we serve in my centers are from subsidized funding. We have over 75% of our enrolled
Yeah.
students come from families that qualify for child care assistance through
Yeah.
the state. So
So
they need it. And I want to be able to deliver
yeah.
the best.
Mm, yeah, me too. I mean, I grew up as a Head Start kid, so I'm all about making sure that low income to middle income families can have high quality care.
Yes.
Um, was there something you believed about leadership when you first started that that experience eventually changed for you? Like you thought a leader was this, but now you think a leader is something different?
Um, I guess like I didn't
Yeah.
realize in the beginning how important it would be to um build relationships first. Get to know what your if you're going in to like coach someone, right? Or correct them about their classroom or whatever, you have to hear what is, even if it's not the topic of like, what you're trying to teach them or show them or ask them to do, if they're frustrated or um, something else is going wrong and bothering them, you're not going to be able to get through to them unless you solve for what you're trying to teach, unless you solve whatever problem they feel like is their biggest problem in their class or in their office or whatever. So that's something that I did actually. I heard it first from one of our childcare resource and referral agency coaches, our CCR and R coach. We used to do like coaching through the through our local childcare council. They would come in and work with our teachers and stuff. So she said that to me one day, and I was like, that makes so much sense. Because when I get on these calls with like our local like government agencies or our licensing or with the childcare subsidies or wherever, and they're
Mhm.
talking our ears off about some policy or something that like is going to change child, and I'm like, well, we just haven't been paid in months. Like, who's going to process the pay?
Yeah.
We need to. There, it's just it feels kind of insulting if we're not addressing the big elephant in the room, right? So I feel like going back to your question, like establishing relationships and getting to know what is actually bothering the person that you're trying to lead or the group of people. What is the bigger elephant in the room to solve that problem first or at least address it, come up with a plan for that before you move on to leading them in whatever direction you're trying to take them. What matters to them right now first, I think
Yeah.
is important.
Yeah, that's really good advice. So when I came into the industry, I was about 26 years old. I've spent half of my life in this industry. So young leaders sometimes feel like they have to prove themselves. Did you ever experience that? Because I know when I first came in as a director, I was younger than some of the folks that I was responsible to have in my charge.
Mhm.
So did you ever experience that or no?
Um, I didn't prove myself. No, I think that um to be honest, I don't really care a lot about what people think. I think I can recognize when somebody is confused. I think that's like the biggest even now, because I think that sometimes depending on how I look, how I dress, how I speak, or how I show up to certain places, some people think I'm still like way younger than I am. And even today, like we had our back to school, we call it back to preschool fair today. And we met someone important within the school district, and he looked shocked when I mentioned I'm the owner. He was like, "You're the owner?" And I'm like, "Yeah." But it's not like I can tell that he was shocked, and that has happened so many times every year that I've been an owner of a childcare business. But it doesn't to me, I don't feel like I have to prove anything. Like, this
Sure.
is what it is, and here's, depending on who I'm talking to, like, here's your agreement, here's your registration forms, here's your write-up that you have to sign, like, I don't really feel like I have to prove anything. It's just now and we can move on. But I've
Okay.
never taken I think the only time that, I felt any type of way about being young is when I first opened at when I was 20, 21, operating my home daycare by myself. Sometimes parents would ask if I have children. They didn't really care or ask how old I was, but they
Mm,
asked if I had kids, and I didn't, and I still don't. So sometimes people may feel like they can't I can't understand what they're
mm.
talking about, or what they're going through because I'm not a mother myself. And that may be true. I might not understand or get what you're saying, but if we're talking about what's going on in this business, this is
Yeah,
what it is.
you
Yeah,
understand that.
yeah, exactly.
What leadership advice would you give to a director or an owner who is struggling with their team right now?
I guess it would depend on what they're struggling with. I think going back to like, trying to build relationships is important. And if you're in a situation where like you can't personally, like for example, I have over 60 employees. And I'm also running, I'm doing a lot. We don't really have a large upper management team. So right now it's just myself, our executive director, and we have a couple of virtual assistants. So
Mhm,
when it comes to paperwork for anything related to HR, anything related to
mhm,
marketing, accounting, like the payroll, it's mostly me. So I don't really have a lot of time. But the reason we have an executive director, and center directors and administrative assistants
mhm,
is because I know that there does need to be somebody who's designated to have those relationships and be
mm,
able to be a listening ear in person every day, or someone to speak to right away, or, address concerns with. So I think like if you are the face of your business inside your business every day, most of the time, if you're struggling with your staff, you should probably start with like having some conversations, open your door up, maybe have one-on-ones a little more frequently. I do a lot of like team building events. We've had in this past teacher appreciation week, we closed early and we took all of our staff from all locations to a local like waterfront restaurant, and
nice.
we gave them all lunch. We've done taken them to Dave and Buster's before. If we can do things where we like
Mhm,
come together without the responsibility of kids, something we started this year is bringing lead teachers out of the building and into our
mm,
main office once every other week
mhm,
to ask how things are going in the class and lesson plan with them. That provides a space for them to like connect with not myself personally, but also like our
mhm.
curriculum coordinator or our executive director, we can have like the time away from the kids on a routine basis. But that doesn't happen unless you're planning time for it. So
Yeah.
managing your time and penciling in consistent times to meet and relationship build would be important. Again, like I said, before you start trying to shift everybody in the right direction. And there's certain people that even if you try to relationship build with them, it's not going to work out. And maybe you have to um, be confident enough to send them on their way.
And
You
weed
know?
the garden. Weed the garden.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
All right. As we start to wind down, can you tell me what do you feel is maybe one of your greatest successes in the work that you've built?
Um, I feel successful right now with our team. It has taken me a long time to get to this really comfortable place with the people that we have in the places that we have them. So I mean that from my right under me and my dad would be our executive director. She's fantastic, all the way down to like our assistant teachers level across all locations in the centers. I feel so comfortable and confident with all the ladies and gentlemen that we have in place wherever they are, because it allows me the freedom to focus on the quality of our service rather than just like what we have to provide, what we have to do. Them taking care of things inside the center, making sure the kids are safe, healthy, going home in one piece. They're communicating to the families efficiently. Um, it wasn't like this all the time. Like the first few years, I used to be so anxious about like what could happen today, you know? I
Yeah.
went from one center location in 2017 to 2020. We expanded to two in 2020. And then 2021, we got our third. And by 2023, we got our fourth. So we grew pretty quickly once we started to expand. And at that point, once we started to grow and I stepped away from the director role, I used to be, like I said, very anxious about what's going to happen because it took a while for me to have parents stop asking for me. If there was a problem. And I'm not saying now that everything is comfortable, accidents don't happen or incidents don't occur.
Sure.
It's just that I know that the people we have in place, the leadership we have, are able to handle it and it's received well. We are able to move past problems in a way that doesn't involve me. And that takes a huge weight off of my shoulders. I'm happy to do all the paperwork stuff and the administrative tasks, but when I have to do that plus worry about having a
Mm,
hard conversation, I would lose my mind. So um, I I'm so grateful for I feel successful with the team that myself and my dad have built up, and a lot of them have been with us for a long time, and I hope that they're with us for many more years to come.
yeah. So let me ask you this. Is there anything about running a center or a podcast or anything else that you want to share with the listeners that I didn't ask you?
Running a center or a podcast.
Yeah, whatever you want. This is your pick of a question and an answer. You pick.
Well, I guess I can just circle back around to like the marketing of it all. So with both things, right? Operating a center or with a podcast, you have to be intentional about where you're advertising that this is the service that you provide or the content that you provide. How are you distributing it to people? Are you being intentional about every time someone calls your phone, looking for childcare? Do you have a method of documenting who called, how they heard about you, what's their name, number, email, their child's age? There's so many CRMs out here. Yes, they cost money and they're worth every dollar, no matter which one you have, probably.
Mhm.
But if you can't afford it yet, and maybe you're just starting or you're not sure, confident about that decision, have like a dedicated notebook where you're writing it all down. We've built our email list with our centers up to about 7,000 people over the years. And that really helps when we're trying to like sell tickets to an event or have RSVPs for community fairs like today.
Mhm.
Um, or just, trying to push something out there. You can use your email list for as a, to help you spread awareness. When people find something, if it doesn't apply to them, whatever you're advertising, they can forward it to their friend. And that it really just helps if you're intentional
Yeah.
about the way that you're strategizing your marketing efforts. And there's so much that you can do for free on your own. So like you can put your Google your business on your business and your podcast. If you have a daycare or
Yep.
a content, you can create a Google business listing for free so that if someone is searching whatever it is you do or you offer in your area, you can pop up as an option. Start getting people to rate and review you on Google, and there's so many methods of free marketing that you can do from Google. And it's also a learning tool. So if you don't know how to do something, not
Mhm.
only is there Gemini, which is free, where you can, get answers to very specific questions, but you can also go to YouTube University. You and I both love YouTube. I learned so much from YouTube over the years. Um, Not even just talking about how to operate a childcare business, but when it comes to like, how do I fix this function on my website? Or how do I, get this app to do this on my phone? Just be curious. That's a
Mm.
really important one. Be curious about the way certain things work in your business and learn a little for yourself.
I love it. I love it. All right. So I'm going to ask you a couple more questions, and I promise I'm going to let you go.
No, it's okay.
So
Sure.
here's my question, because I love YouTube. So do you remember your first videos that you made, and when did you finally decide to put yourself out there in YouTube? Like, did you just say, I'm just going to stop vlogging, and then people just started watching?
You may not believe it, Erica, but my first few videos had absolutely nothing to do with childcare. I started my YouTube channel in I want to say 2010 or 2011, and I was doing videos related to hair and like beauty, makeup, hair
Hmm.
tutorials, things like that. So my goal with YouTube when I originally got on it was to get free products from companies,
Love
and
it.
it was working.
I bet.
My videos about hair were getting a lot of views, and I was getting free products from companies and whatnot. But when I started my home daycare, about 3 or 4 years later, I got busy as a business owner would, and I
Hmm.
stopped doing those videos. And I mentioned in one of my videos one day that I had a home daycare, and a whole bunch of people, because I had built a little bit of a following off
Following.
of the hair and makeup videos. So people started asking me questions about the daycare, and I followed that up with answering questions about my daycare. And that's kind of how Danny Christine childcare related videos
Got
started.
it.
And then I felt embarrassed about all the hair videos, so I privatized those. And, even though some of them have hundreds of thousands of views, I was like, "Okay, this doesn't really align with my brand anymore, so I'm gonna hide these." But
But it
yeah,
got you your following, right? It got you a following.
yeah,
It got you right. Again, it's the step. You never know the path, what
right,
way it's gonna take you. You just got to make some kind of a move, though.
exactly.
Yeah, I love it. I love that. So yeah, my first video I made, not really for YouTube, but for my staff when we were going through the quality rating system, and I
Oh,
was going
okay.
through how to set up your library. And
Nice.
then I just started talking about, this is how you need to set this up. And then other people started watching. I'm like, what the heck? And then
Yeah,
it just kind of, and then people started asking questions just like that.
yeah,
And yeah, then the rest is, I
yeah,
guess,
that's the best.
not history, not like your history, but a couple people watch, a couple
Yes,
people watch.
yes.
But some of the cool things that have happened because of my YouTube channel, on top of getting people who sponsor my conference,
Mhm.
um, is I've had some college courses reach college
Yes,
professors
yes.
reach out and say, "Can I use your YouTube
Mhm.
video for my college course?" I'm like, "Yes, please." Yes,
Yeah,
please. Yes, please.
that is the
So
cool.
that's
We've
always, yeah,
had
that's a cool thing.
I've had, students, college students reach out to interview me for their
Love
class,
it.
and I've also had a professor record an interview with me to show their class.
Yeah,
So, yeah, that is
that's
really
always really fun.
mhm.
All right. I'm going to ask you a couple rapid fire questions.
Gosh,
Okay,
okay.
here we go. What's one leadership habit that every director should develop?
Time management, I truly believe Google Calendar is the best tool to manage your time. So Google Calendar, 7-day agenda view, calendar block your days.
Okay. What is something you wish you knew earlier in your career?
But everything works out the way it's supposed to, and just calm down.
Hmm. What is one thing ECE leaders need to stop doing?
People pleasing.
Okay. What is one thing they need to start doing?
And go back to time blocking. I think that's a really important one, managing
Yes.
time better.
Okay. What is the best piece of leadership advice you have ever received?
Uh, I guess just to be where people are, like be everywhere. We were talking about earlier, being at community events and in the PTA and all these places. Yes, online is important, but also showing up physically for the community is something that shouldn't be forgotten.
Love that. What is one word that you want educators to feel when they walk into your program every morning?
Educators, I want them to be happy. I want them to enjoy coming to work because if they're happy to be there, then that will pour over into the children.
And finally, what is one piece of advice you would give someone who has either an idea or a message or something they want to build but keeps waiting for the right time to begin?
There's no right time. Just do it. Just do it now before you make an excuse not to or you get scared. Just do it now.
All right. So, in closing, here's what I'm going to say. I think sometimes we see someone who owns a program and has built a leadership team, maybe has a platform, creates videos, or developed audience, but we don't see firsthand what it took to finish that product. And we don't always see the hard decisions that we have to make to get to where we are. And sometimes leadership is uncomfortable. Sometimes you got to have those conversations. And the moment that you question yourself and keep waiting to be ready, girl, you might never be ready. So just do the thing. I
Mhm.
am so excited and so honored to have you on my show, Danny. Thank you so much. We're going to put below the links for your website, your podcast. Is there anything else you want me to add in the bottom?
No, the Magnified Childcare Instagram page would be great, and yes, I can send you the link for our podcast page as well. And I hope that we get to have you as a guest soon.
I would love to get on down to New York, and I'm going to make that happen because one of my best trailblazers is down in New York. So I got to get down there.
Nice.
Shout out to Becca. Yeah. So guys, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for tuning in literally day after day. And if you have not checked out Danny's podcast, she's got 2 of them. We'll put both the links below. Check them out. And as always, have a great day.
Thank you.
Before you go, ask yourself, what's one leadership lesson you'll put into action this week? Then share one takeaway with your leadership team, because Erica believes that great leaders don't just grow themselves, they help others grow too. Ready to keep growing? Join Erica inside the ECE Trailblazers Leadership Membership at childcaredirectorschair.com. Proudly sponsored by Watch Me Grow. Together, we believe leadership isn't a title, it's an action. And we'll save your chair for next time.